Okay, so today I'll introduce a little subsection of the series where I'm able to, because this so far the series hasn't really had a format to it, except for I'm just trying to collect every green card in the game. But because of how long that would take to do, I've indulged in other colors, and so it's not like I'm only crafting green things. But that's ultimately the only format that I said there was. Like we're trying to collect every green card in the game, and if I do, like I beat the game or whatever. But because I played a Magic the Gathering online for the first time a couple weeks back, like on Saturday, right, that Saturday format where I play sort of random stuff that I've never played before. So we at least introduced the option to play it. So what I thought is we could try to fit it into these sessions. So if I win at least one best of three, which isn't a very high standard, but like for example, last time I didn't do it, then I can play that. That doesn't mean I'll play it immediately after I win one, because I might go on a 5-game win streak, whatever. But I'll still fit in at least like one game, or what I could almost do. And what's convenient about this is there's only one Magic the Gathering category, so it's like you wouldn't have to change back and forth, right? You just go from Magic to Magic, and that's unusual because you might think, oh, they're both Magic, but a lot of other games aren't like that. You would have to change from, different expansions of an MMO have different categories, or different parts of a series, always have different categories. So that's kind of weird that they only have one for Magic. That would encompass like every Magic game ever, pretty much. But the point is that it doesn't mean immediately after I win a best of three I would do that. But what I could also do is like I play this until I lose a game, then I play that, then I play that until I lose a game, then I come back. But that'll be like too tedious. I don't want to have to keep switching back and forth right now, especially with these episodes not being super long. So what I'll do is, again, if I win a best of three, I at least unlock the ability to play that. And then I've been pretty much losing 100% of games in that, because obviously I'm just using whatever random stuff I want to do. Although what's interesting is it starts you with like 2,000 cards in that game, or at least that's what I got from like the opening starter pack, right, just for creating your account. So I got 2,000 cards like that, and my whole collection in here after like a year and a half of playing as a free-to-play player, even though I've wasted a lot of gold on cosmetics and stuff. And never mind the fact that I built it probably suboptimally with the mythic cards, but that's still the net same number of cards, and cards of every rarity, because you can't disenchant. The point is that I have only like 2,000 cards in here. So I have the same number of cards in that game on a new account as I do in this. So it might be a lot harder to get them over time, right? But that is weird. We don't even have much. I was thinking I could mess around with my collection and try to do something here, but try to improve the deck. Like yesterday's episode of Hearthstone was the same thing. I spent most of the time just iterating upon the deck I was using rather than actually playing, which is kind of dumb to do in these sort of short sessions, but here I can't even really change too much. But let's just look at it. The main issue I was having is I was getting mana screwed like every single fucking game, and I don't know what to do about that, because I have enough land. Like I have 20 land, or when I would get the land, I would get the wrong color one for what I'm trying to use. Like it's all stupid. So here's the criteria. I actually did this pretty well yesterday to explain sort of like the gimmick decks that I use in Hearthstone. Like it has to have exactly the keyword or mechanic that I'm talking about. Like, so that's the criteria. So the criteria with this deck would be it has to be either hexproof, ward, or a buff, right? Those should be the only three things I can have. So if it's doing one of those three, this has ward, right? That's the only criteria I have. So anything with those on it I can have, which means within that context, right, people might even say, oh, you should use this other card or this better thing. But like, because of my singular focus on how I do certain things, right, like that's the best possible thing you can have is like, you know what I mean? You can't just use a meta card just because it's good or something really good. It would have to still fit into that criteria. But then you can make the best possible thing. But obviously, I don't have all the cards that would make that possible either. The Armadillo has ward, but I'm trying to see if there's something maybe better. And of course, I'm using my two least favorite colors in doing this, but that's a good way to kind of put it in perspective. Like I usually do that sort of thing where I'm using like a gimmick. I have like a lot of hexproof, but I won't hard commit to it and say like explicitly I can't use anything else. So, and we are combining like 3 different mechanics here, but I don't really get it, because when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the field. Like, I don't really have anything very good. So let me look up each thing. Or you know what I've been especially disappointed in is the buffing capability. All my buffs are so fucking garbage, but maybe there aren't too many better ones. Like, I'm not even that upset about this deck. It's just like, or maybe I should just do full-on ward. Like, forget about the buffs. Yeah, maybe that's the issue. I have too many buff cards. Let me make a new one. And so I'd still say I'm allowed to use buffs, but let's do hexproof and ward full. Right, see like all the ones that we have. Timeless is here. I swear that Timeless wasn't even a format when I first started playing this game, like in 22, and at some point they added it. And as soon as they did, like, I started playing it. So it wasn't that long ago, or maybe I just never saw it. Or maybe my collection was just so bad that they're saying you don't even deserve to be able to play it. But you have hexproof. I don't really care about that. It's just got to be a minion actually with hexproof. And it's got to be blue or white. So you're trying to tell me I have 0 hexproof white cards. Like, how can that even make any sense? And I can't make any anyway. I guess I'll make one of them if there's something for whatever low rarity card that we have. This is hexproof. If a source would deal damage, prevent it. When there are 9 or more, I mean, obviously I can't make it. Oh, I can make it. Somebody used this against me in like a draft, I feel like, and it was a troll. Or maybe it wasn't a draft, but I was just kind of shocked and triggered by this card the first time I saw it. When there are 9 or more, exile it. When it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. You know what? Let's just do that for the fuck of it, because it, you know, it doesn't have to mean that it's a minion with hexproof. And so at least it fits with this a little bit. So that'll be the one white hexproof card that I have, which is even, you know, not even a minion, but that's fine. So we can have multiple of the same one too, and especially Invisible Stalker is one that I... Well, maybe not. Let me think about it. And maybe it's even suggesting you should have 12 of each, but I don't know how we can determine that so early on. How do you know how many of each card I'm going to have, right? Because it's not going to adjust them. Like, oh, now I put, like, oh, that's my only blue card and everything else is white. So how the fuck would you justify having 12? You know, it's just going based on the first 2 that you put in there. So I won't even worry about buffs, but then I'm probably not going to have enough. Or you know what it'll turn into is I'll have to do like 4 of all of them, right? Or as many as I have, which again, some of these are not very good value. 4 mana, 5 mana, 2/5. Right, this is the mythic that we made, which is okay. You know, I kind of like the effect, but it's just, some of these cards just aren't very good value. That's the sad reality that you come into. And all these are kind of like too expensive. I do like the turtle here. This is just very, in fact, it's all going to be blue then. It's just going to be a full blue deck. Like, we're basically just saying fuck you to white, because now we're going to have to do ward. Or we could do it within that context too, like all the ward for white and all the hexproof for blue. But, I mean, that's more out of necessity because we don't really have anything with... there aren't any white ones with hexproof, at least that I can see. Ward 1. If it's either day or night, it becomes a Gavany thing. Like, I'm doing it just because it's a 3 mana 3/3, which is better value than most of this shit anyway. But, what does this even say, ward? Wait, oh, it just says it in the name, like gold wardens. That always is a troll. I'll put in maybe as few of these as possible, or maybe I'll have to put more. Ward 3. I mean, I don't want to use too many things like that. 9 lives is in there just basically as a gimmick. And now we're going to end up with blue again anyway. 1/2, 1 mana, 1/2. Draft a card from the spellbook. Experimental pilot. I don't know. I mean, it does have a pretty good ward, and maybe you can keep doing that and get good value. I don't know what's actually in the spellbook. Would it actually show you here, like everything? Add 1 mana of any color, but that's just a vehicle. Draft from a spellbook. Flying, don't care about that. This is trample ward. So this is basically just going to turn into only blue, which I can never make up my mind which one I hate more, whether it's blue or white. Right, white with all the healing and buffing that I generally don't like, even though I've become, in that sense, the very thing I swore to destroy that I don't like. Yeah, just look at the value on some of these, and you might say, oh, that's the price you pay for ward or for hexproof, but it's not, because, you know what I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. So there's still plenty of good value cards in the game. So let's see if there's anything else, even if it's like a neutral one, I wouldn't mind. You have 5 more to add in there, and so basically the white is going to be a total eyesore. It almost makes me think, like, why even bother doing this? Why not just say fuck you to white? I was trying to do this hybrid and really revel in my 2 least favorite colors, but yeah, what is really the point? I'll just... You know what, maybe... No, but then where am I going to get the mana color from? So maybe I'll do 2 separate... Oh, we should do that then. We'll do 2 separate ones. One with only white, which there won't be enough cards to even work with this, but I can work around the buffs. And then one with only blue. Now I realize my mistake. The fact that I never like to use... And let's do like different land colors in doing that too, but I always try to work around the fact that... What do you call it? I try to not use multiple colors. Of course, people do all kinds of crazy stuff where they're going to do a fucking rainbow deck, but... Ward for 2. Wait, why do I not have this then? So we can have multiple copies of everything too, just to fill in the final slot. So we'll get up to 40, right? Maybe I am underestimating. In a 60 card deck, maybe you should have like 15. But no, I was even having 20, right? But like 15 of each. So half your deck is literally just lands because I keep getting cucked on them somehow. Let's see, which ones do we have other copies of? We have that one. They're all just kind of too top heavy and high cost, right? There should be some lower cost ones, like even that 1-2. Really, this is good just to get something out there because it's so hard for me to ever do that. So we're missing like 6 more we still need, which is weird. That you're not going to have the green, so what the fuck? Like I have multiple copies of everything that has hexproof reward that I have in my collection, which you would think, at least for hexproof, I have most of them because, you know, I've just kind of made a point to try to craft them and everything like that. Let me look at it again. I don't think I excluded too much from this as far as, you know, having 4 copies of everything. That is fucking bizarre. Like, what am I can't even meet my own criterion condition that I just set. Unless I say I want to put 26 lands in there. There's unironically nothing I can do. Right? If that's my condition, that I can only have these 2 mechanics. That's so dumb. I mean, I could put, like, something else that just mentions hexproof, like one of those spells, or... Maybe I will just do that. I'll just put 26 lands and say, fuck it. Or wait, oh, I'm looking for land with ward, too. Which, again, this day and age of power creep with any sort of game having been out for that long, that's what ends up happening. I always compare that to Pokemon. Like, the energy used to just be energy, but now it's like, you know, oh, it'll have some other crazy effects and buffs to go along with it, too, instead of just being a base resource. So even the lands, even the, you know, energy sort of... whatever your main form of currency, magic, whatever it's going to be, like mana and Hearthstone, even that ends up having a power creep to it. We have 26 lands, which seems absurd, but again, within my criteria, I even have multiple copies of a lot of things. There's nothing else I can do, and of course I don't have any spells either. So we'll do that one, and we'll play between these 2, basically, and see which one does better, which both will probably lose every game, but at least even if they win 1 in the best of 3, that still counts as a better, you know, performance. So now we'll go through, we'll do all the buff things, but it won't be nearly enough. In fact, I don't even think I'll be able to complete this one either. Like, there's no white things with hexproof, which is utterly stupid. Or they're all, like, for you, so I don't mind putting that in there, but, you know, that's literally all we got. Like, what the fuck? Like, I get that people say, well, blue is more about stuff like hexproof. That's a more blue mechanic, but... The game has so many cards and it's been out for so long that you would think there'd be more than that, but I think I crafted this too relatively recently, but I never really ended up using it. I'll craft something just because I think it's cool, but then it's not going to actually be worth it. Let's go ahead and put as many of the ward stuff in here as possible, which I think I'm really grossly overestimating how much of this I'm going to be able to fit. And of course, we're not going to do the lands, or I like to put, again, 1 of each different picture that we can fit in there. You know, we'll do that just for the sake of it. So we can do, man, that is unbelievable. So no hexproof, no ward. Yeah, this is not even a deck at all. Like, what is this, dude? What am I supposed to do? There's nothing with, maybe we'll change this one to flying. So we'll do every white card with flying instead. And then also the buffs. Like, really, just... Look for everything that's a buff and just do it indiscriminately. Gets +1, even if it's just for till the end of turn. Like, fuck it. Because I just don't have anything that I can put in here. Sacrifice a target creature gets +2/+2. I love these until end of turn. Like, why would that ever be worth it, dude? When you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with a +1/+1. When it enters the battlefield, +1/+1. On each other, well, I mean, that's too specific of an effect. Cheeky mouse. Get back here, vile rodent. I was almost done with that. Done cursing that ring. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of power greater 3 or less, whatever. And then the creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn. Gets +1/+3. Why are all these cards so dumb, dude? Why can't you just have like a good static buff ever? So we'll do flying and we'll do... basically all of this, I guess. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn, but for 5, I'll still do it. It's +1/+1, put a +1/+1. I'll just put as many of these as I can. Although now we're starting to actually have too many, maybe. Remove 2 +1/+1s, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This might actually be too much now. But mostly I want these to be low cost anyway. Flying when, okay, we can just have that because it's flying, period. And then 1, 2, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, okay, I don't have too many of those, or any probably. Gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Creatures you control get +1/+1 vigilance till end of turn. Like, what the fuck, man? I mean, if you have extra mana to just blow, I guess you can do that, but yeah, maybe we should get these down to like 1 each and then just pack it full of flying stuff. Oh, whoops. Right, so this whole buffing element that I hate so much, but the way that people do it, usually at this low rank, is more like there's probably some budget deck that everybody's using that's like, whatever, whenever something enters the battlefield, you get healed, and whenever something gets healed, something else gets buffed, so that whole mentality is like, okay, let's see what other ones we can fit. +2/+2. This is one that was even in the tutorial, right? Which shows you how bad of a card it must be. So we have 20 cards to do with that, and then let's just look purely at flying, and then we'll put in around 20 of the lands, or possibly more. So just anything with flying, period. Flying vigilance, fine. Whatever, 1/1. The whole idea here is you would just create a white angel with flying. You have 7 or more life. I'm not really healing myself. Flying vigilance. Let's just see how many of these we can really fit. At least this is a robust mechanic that you have a lot of choices, but okay, we need some higher cost ones now. This is starting to get stupid. Flying 1/3. So you can see that I'm not picking them out for quality. I'm just picking them out for, you know, I'd rather do one of each just for the sake of it. I like that combination of flying and toxic. You know, it's just sometimes this assumption that, oh, they're not going to have anything with flying themselves, so they just can't deal with it, so they're screwed. We have like 9 more that I want to do. I don't want too many high cost ones, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield, it gets +1 until end of turn. Like, if you just remove that fucking piece of text, we need like a mythic modern power creep card that says all your cards that say until end of turn no longer say it, right? It's like some battle cry effect or whatever that's for the rest of the game. Your end of turn effects last forever. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Flying 3/2. Okay, I need some better standard ones now. Or even that one's bad, but at least it has whatever. Like, give me something with good stats, dude. 5 cost. Cast only if a creature is attacking you. 3/1/1 tokens with flying. Of course, I rarely use planeswalkers too. I'm surprised I don't have better ones to choose from and from all this. Like, not that I really made a point to try to craft these, but just like 1-to-1 statting is fine with me. Indestructible, so we'll do like maybe 1 more. They're all just fucking bad, dude. Whatever. So this one took a weird turn where I wasn't able to actually, or we'll do like 21 then, I guess. Doesn't that make perfect sense? The planes would represent flying, right? Just how like an island is a land, like a water land is oxymoronic, just like a plane to do with flying. Like, you know, you're looking at literal land and ground, but this deck is nothing to do with that. It should be like a cloud cover, like a sky instead of a land. Alright, so we'll just go between those two again. The criteria being that we ended up just splitting it into 2 different ones, which I wasn't expecting to do. The blue one is, and this has 9 lives even though it's not even in there. So this one is ward plus flying plus buffing, right? But there's really not much with ward or anything on it anyway, but it's ward, flying, and buffs. Those are the 3 criteria there. And this one, you'd be surprised that there's not much more you could do with it either. Is that it's just hexproof, ward, and that's it, right? Just hexproof and ward overall. Which again, it's going to counter certain things in a very satisfying way where it's like, wow, you know, this person really relies on a removal in the early game, and so they just lose. But the one thing that's going to hurt you there, that like my dinosaur decks would always help, even though those don't even have hexproof, is you can at least ramp it up with both your minions, giving you mana, and with like the elves and stuff with green, and also the fact that they're a lot better statted. So now I'm going to have to wait till turn 5 to summon like a 2/5, and like it's not going to be worth it by then. But you would get the initiative. Like, I summon something early on and they can't do anything about it, so it's going to sit there. Right, but it's just going to be too weak to actually win me the game. That's the problem. The queue times have been a little bit long lately too. Or is it actually showing like when this expansion ends here? Because it should be like this month, right? It feels like it's been a while. It's still not saying that though. Huh. I haven't really worried about the reward track this time, like with the orbs and the cosmetics, because I haven't really wanted one from this, but every once in a while I'll have to make a point to do the daily. I mean, you should do them anyway, like do the daily quest once a week, but now I've been too lazy to even do that. Yeah, at least we tinkered with my deck a bit, but then I realized like how little variety of some of these mechanics I actually have. And that's what online is going to give you. That it's not even about whether the cards are, you know, going to be worse just because they're older and some of those are excluded from this game. It's just it gives you more variety. Like we saw that Orb of Resistance. That seems like a really fun card. It just makes everything, you know, that they play cost like one more, right? And that's not in this game as far as I could tell, right? I kind of looked for it. So that'll give you sort of ideas for stuff that could be in here, but or vice versa. I mean, a lot of stuff in everything that's in this should be in that, but actually that's not even true. Look how I'm getting land screwed already. I'm getting island screwed. Like, how is it possible, dude? Didn't I even say like I have 26 lands? I have too many lands in here, but what the fuck is going on? This is all we need. Just get the invisible stalker out there and just whack him in the face for 20 turns if they can't do anything about it, which, you know, sometimes they will underestimate it, or they'll even do part of the work for me there. Pretty nice card back. Yeah, I've been using this stupid Dwayne the Rock for a while. I almost forgot about it. Alright, so let's just try to get something actually going. At least we'll have a decent amount of land here, but that is kind of bizarre, man. Like, half your deck is fucking lands, but you're still not getting them. But this is why at least it doesn't split it as much, where that becomes an issue too. Like, now I'll get the wrong one. Like, I'll need a blue one, but I get a white one when you have them all split and everything like that. Of course, again, any good deck is just going to be able to cycle through and get whatever it wants whenever it wants, but usually I don't use mechanics like that. I'll just have it in a raw sense. See all this kind of rainbow multicolored dog shit. Yeah, we'll see which one does better, and then obviously if I win one game with either one set at least, best of 3, then that would allow you to basically do it in such a way that I could do online, and I could also do that until I lose a game, but obviously that would be the first one, because I mean, like I said, I do have 2,000 cards, so I presume we could make something much better than what I've been using, but I just use whatever random janky green thing that I felt like, just like using every dinosaur and stuff that I have. So let's see. You know, how is he going to deal with this invisible stalker? It's just going to be too much for him to handle. But sometimes that's how you can tell too. Like, my deck is like so straightforward. Not even that it's just that it's bad. It's like all my moves will be very quick because I'm just playing on curve. Whereas the opponent's going to do all this kind of, I mean, they're not really doing anything, but now look at that. I still can't play anything. It's just too, it's like too best case scenario, right? All these higher cost things. I don't know what else you would do. Like, you have to do some sort of ramp blue thing, not because you're actually trying to play ramp with good value, but because you're trying to overcompensate for how expensive everything is and how bad value some of these things actually are. So, I mean, at least I like this one a little better than the white one. And it doesn't mean I have to play online either necessarily, even if I do win, but at least it gives me the option, and I like the idea of sort of switching between the two. So, I mean, so far the invisible stalker is carrying its weight, but I mean, this is why the whole buff thing was so enamoring. Now you're going to actually be able to do something. Flying Vigilance Ward, which is still better statted than this garbage, but the health value hardly even matters for that, but they're both, come on, man, you're supposed to be, you fell for my trap, though. The real thing I wanted to summon was that, but, I mean, now he didn't have to pay the ward cost for that, right? He just did it outright. So that doesn't count, obviously, when you're just countering something. Look how low they let themselves get. Like, if I could just do a surprise buff here, you know, and just one-shot them. 20 health is such a low starting value that it makes it seem like there's so many things that you could potentially do to, like, one-shot them or whatever, OTK stuff, but you don't actually see it all that often. It's more just like they'll flood the board with, like, a million things, and then, you know, they'll win by attrition eventually. I mean, I could do this as my ace card too, but he has enough land where maybe I shouldn't worry about ward too much. Let's do this one instead. Not that doing the 2 damage would be that big of a deal either. Let me guess, you're gonna counter that too. Like, what the fuck? Then if you counter that, you know what you have coming for the next. So this is not only unpreventable damage, but it's obviously, you know, it's really playing into the trope of what this game is about in a way, like with not being able to attack minions, right? You have to just wait if they block with them. So if they don't have removal, and of course they can't even have removal, now they're going to take a lot of unpreventable damage, but it's just not going to be enough, especially with healing, right? There's nothing I can do. That's one of my big weaknesses with this deck, is just if you, or with honestly a lot of my stuff, if you heal, I just can't deal with it because I'm relying on trying to get you down relatively quickly, just, and I have to be able to rely on that. Like, there's nothing I can do about that ever. I don't have any removal. I don't have any way to counteract the healing, right? So you're just going to be able to sit there forever unless my damage starts to outclass what you're healing for, but that's still too much time, right? They're obviously playing for some crazy win condition. I'm just somebody who doesn't like win conditions, at least in a certain context, especially when games are out for a long time like this, where everything becomes too deliberate. Like, you're just playing for such and such condition, and then if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. It makes it less interactive, in a manner of speaking, at least. Right? It's not always a bad thing, but you know, you lose sort of sight of what the board play was always about and things like that. And of course, with blue, you might think that's one of the core functions of blue, is that it has so much removal, but looks like I definitely won't be winning this one, though. Or, I mean, I could still come back and win the next 2, which is why I obviously like the best of 3 so much. It kind of counteracts RNG and whatever. Okay, so you can easily deal with the ward, but you can't deal with these other 2. But again, I can't out-damage what you're going to heal for, or even what you're going to... Like, look at how I'm getting fucked over still. You have one desire with this deck, to prevent them from using spells and removal, you see? But then they still are able to do it. They're able to counter stuff. They're able to... I need, like, that fucking... what is it? The Carnage Tyrant can't be countered, as well as being hexproof. Like, that's my favorite card ever in card game history, probably by effect basis, because... You know, just let me fucking play something on the board and leave it alone. And then if you want to use some AoE or whatever, that stupid white card that just destroys everything on the board, right, regardless of damage value or anything, that would be the only way to get rid of it, or something that exile stuff. You know, any effect that says, you know, each player sacrifices one thing, and if they only have that on the board, then that would auto-target that, right? The point is, they gave me enough time to potentially win, but it's just like I'm not doing enough damage, or they're healing for too much. And now their win condition is going to come into play at some point. A lot of people use this just for the sake of using it, but it's not really... I don't know. Put a burden counter, draw a card. It just feels sometimes random. And of course, I don't have any healing myself, or I'm not really in a position where I can block stuff. Right, I just have to kind of go for face and try to do what I can do here. What is the healing exact mechanic here? You gain 4 life if this is the first time the ability has resolved this turn, so basically every turn you can just do it. Yeah, their damage and their healing is going to outpace me in such a way that... Look at how long it took me to get, like, a decent board, if any, you know... of anything, and even now I'm still screwed. So if they weren't able to counter my stuff, that's the one, like, it really is like you're sort of craving interactivity, like, let me actually do, but in a way you're shutting down their interactivity, but I'm forcing it to at least occur on the board. Like, let me just play something and then just deal with it normally, instead of just always using removal and random shit like this. But you know, even then, they're still cucking my ability to play it. I would have had like the other 2 minions at least out here. This one and... Or I guess he just kept using it on the same one. Like he put it on the top of my deck, then he countered it again. This is dumb because you obviously know you're going to lose, but I also don't like to resign. Yeah, if I lose this, then I'll play the white one, and then if I lose that, then let's say that episode is over. But realistically, I could keep going back and forth between them. Right. Doesn't mean I only get one shot, but between the two, you should win at least one best of 3. Not like if I win one game in the best of 3, that doesn't count. But if you win one of the best of 3s, you get to... you know, do online, and then if I win as one, I can just keep playing as one still. Right, like the play is the same one, and I don't have to switch to the other one. Yeah, that white deck seems pretty boring. At least this, I like the core idea behind it. A lot of people use that card, actually. Must just be one of these meta timeless things like Thoughtseize. Every other player uses Thoughtseize at the beginning of the game just because it's so good. So that heal is what kind of ruined me on its own anyway. Like, they haven't shown much resistance to my, you know, they haven't been able to deal with the flying or the, you know, any of this stuff with AoE. So realistically, I got in a lot of damage, and this is why the buffing was so enamoring. But I guess either there just aren't enough good buffs for relatively low cost that I was looking for, or actually you can just block that, or you would be in a position, at least this comes in clutch with its very awkward statting somehow. But imagine me actually staying alive with that. Like, the best thing he has is going to be this 4-2. And see, I can't worry about that either. I just have to go for... But I'm never going to win like that, so maybe I should. You don't get to choose that, right? Because... I don't know. But you can force everything to attack, which is actually kind of cute. But then again... I don't know if I even want that to happen. Right, I like when they sit back and they're too cowardly to even attack in because they're worried about blocking, but in reality, you could just do this anyway. So let's just use, like, the flying to hit that, or actually... I'm kind of worried about my own blocking. You know what? It's fine. I'm worried about my own blocking capability because I'm just gonna die, aren't I? Like,
think up a fun fate for you.
They're gonna have too much shit to hit me with. I'm just dead. I mean, I'm mathematically dead. I don't know why they're taking so long to... Right, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 4. So even if I block... Oh, maybe not. Assuming they don't have anything else at all. Yeah, this is the average Magic player, by the way, in terms of how iridescent they want their decks to be. Unlike me, with fucking, they have colors that don't even exist in the game. Yeah, it's weird how they exclude so many cards from the history of the game from this version, but then they also make some of their own that are unique to this version. That just seems strange. Why not just keep it completely consistent? Or, again, that's what online is for, but at the very least, I wouldn't have added other unique cards to this. But people still do seem to take it very seriously, so it's not like this is a bad version of the game. It's just considered like maybe a little more casual or something. But even that one's kind of automated too. It's not like you have to... I mean, look at how much time I'm just waiting. Like, I should have just resigned this, and we still have a chance to win the next 2. But look at how long this goes on for. Like, I know I'm gonna lose. I should lose this turn actually already, but whatever, dude. I'll play it out. Maybe it's just like people overestimating. Like, I clearly have an answer that they have to play it perfectly and optimally and carefully, or they're just practicing for some in real life tournament, because this guy's actually a professional player tryharding at silver rank, whatever the fuck, in a best of 3 random timeless format. Like, I don't get why they have to make it take that long. You can tell that what I'm using is not very good, so you don't have to fucking... that's why I sometimes feel like they are playing like bots, because why would somebody go through that much trouble? But then again, I feel like a bot. Like, why wouldn't a person just concede there either? So now I can still beat them, but it's just I have to get off to a better start, which that's the one weakness of this, is that everything is just so high cost and badly statted that there is no such thing as getting off to a good start. That is a good start. You get five turns, you play 5 lands, then you can play a 5-mana 2/5, and that's your epic game-winning play. I at least like the blocking capability that it showed there, that, you know, maybe I underestimated. It can block a 4-attack minion every turn, and just assuming that's the best they're gonna have. But the point is, their deck was decent, but it took a very long time to get there. So this is the kind of thing, like if I was using my green dinosaur thing, I actually could have won that possibly. Because yes, they had removal anyway, but you know, it was working on my hexproof and all this because they were countering it or doing it in ways that bypasses it. So it's like, what's the point? Or that's why ward is so underwhelming, that yes, they have to pay a little extra for it, but you know, I'm going to be cocked on lands, but at least you get something a little bit good value. And it's not like I have 26 lands in this deck, so you know, clearly we're going to get cocked on land though anyway. That'll take a while to actually be good, but then you can always use the effect to make it quicker, or even to untap it when it runs out. Right? That's what I like about it, is you can untap it even normally once the whole intro segment runs out. This is the kind of statting that I like. You know, 1 mana 3/3, even with that taking a while for it to be used, I'm fine with that. Like, that's the kind of green statting that we're looking for, especially with the flying and the hexproof. Or not even hexproof, but you know, I have nothing to do with my mana, so I may as well just do that. So now it'll be ready to go, and then I can always just use it basically as a vigilance thing too. Like, you can attack and then untap it. Not that I want to do that, but you know, it's gonna be a while before I can play any of this shit. I don't think I even have like a 4-cost card, right? Everything is like 3 or 5. Yeah, it's like only minions, only fucking hexproof, only ward. That's why ward just feels like poor man's hexproof, where I don't even like it, because what's the point? Oh god. Or I even just said I don't have a 4-cost card, but I do, obviously. Now you can do this, and then you can untap it, and then I almost wish you could attack again in the same, you know? Like, what if I untap it now? Right, you can do it now, and then that at least allows me to block with it, potentially. But it doesn't mean that they're already down to 12. Like, all it would take is, like, one crazy play, one buff, one other minion on the board, and I could already have run away with this, but... And they're even helping me out by getting themselves even lower, which a lot of people do. Mechanics like that, right? That'll damage themselves and they think it's worth it in the early game, but against my degenerate style of play, sometimes it's not. So they get so close already. Which would make you think this game almost favors aggro, because you have the 20 health value base, and even online has the same health value, so that stands to reason that that is the traditional thing. It's not like this is a casual version of the game where, you know, normally it's 30, but they made it 20 for this. Those were two things in Hearthstone that people made fun of at the beginning. Like, oh, you know, the health value is only 30, and the, you know, the decks themselves are only 30 cards, which that's at least a fair point. That is pretty casual and simple, in concept at least. But yeah, the health value is interesting, that this is even lower than that. Alright, so you finally got that thing out there, and now I pretty much lose the game because I can't deal with the fact of I cannot deal with the fact of the heal, right? That's just gonna out heal everything I'm doing the whole game, so it's already over. That's all you need, is like one mechanic like that, and I'm done. But normally it's not like such an ongoing one. They'll have like a heal that they can do once or twice, but this is like such a perfect counter for that purpose. Not that that's why they have it in there, but they are deliberately doing some damage to themselves, so I get it. It's more to offset that. So fucking stupid, man. Why you gotta fucking heal? So now I'm never going to be able to do, you know, enough to deal with that, even if they don't get to their win condition anytime soon, right? Or now I'm going to get distracted and try to hit this, but I almost shouldn't. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery as though they had flash. Return up to 1, target enchantment to its owner's hand. I mean, I could easily kill that, right? That's not even a concern. I don't care about my health value either. I could do 7 right here. So, like, look how close they are to actually dying, but I'm going to get distracted and not actually do it. And now I get fucked over on land a little bit. So now we'll go... I mean, I'll do it, but... because I'm just resigning myself to the fact that the heal is completely bullshit, and I can't do anything about it. They're going to have an answer, somehow, even though it doesn't make sense, right? Because you have ward, you have... I guess that's where I keep getting disappointed. I keep assuming, oh, how can they target it? But it's because, obviously, I'm used to using hexproof. I haven't used ward that much, and I don't really like it that much. You could do this, and the whole thing is you could attack again, and then you could do it again, too, but it doesn't let you do that, obviously. Yeah, they're gonna heal yet again, so I'm not gonna win, but let's just play it out. If they didn't have the heal, then maybe, you know, from this one fucking source every time, too. I don't mind if they keep hitting me in the face. I just have to get, like, 1 or 2 other things out there. And they're very comfortable letting themselves get low, but... look at how many turns are empty, though. Like, you could think, oh, they're waiting for me to do something to try to counter it, but they're also playing for their own win condition and stuff. But... it just takes them satisfactory long enough amount of time to get there that I could actually still win. Yeah, some cards you just end up seeing like way too often, right? Like this guy is obviously a good card and a lot of people use him, and it's just not super fun to see that over and over. Even if some of the cards I use are like that, although they're probably not. You know, I'm using them in such an arrangement that it's not for some sort of other optimal purpose. This really, like, this one match is going to take like a fucking hour, and my opponent is doing, this feels like a turn 1 Yu-Gi-Oh type experience. Like, my opponent is playing 99% of the time, and I'm just watching it. Fun and interactive, like with synchro summoning, where they do like these crazy things at least that's at the beginning of the game, though. At least it takes a while to get there, and right, they at least theoretically gave me a chance. But okay, so again, I'm just losing effectively to the heal mechanic more than anything else, or then I waste a turn, you know, doing that stupid ass thing too. Doing the stupid ass, what do you call it, killing the planeswalker, which you might think is worth it, but just at the pace that I play at, it's not going to be enough. So I could block this, I'll be down to like 1 health, and I won't have enough to kill them anyway, especially with the healing possibility. So I'll let the 6 cost get, but see, it's the healing, dude. Why does it have to be healing? Now, if I had lethal somehow, I have 3, 6, 9, 10. And if I had like some kind of buff, right, that would be very good as well. But they're going to have way too much healing. It's still like close, though. That's what's funny about it. Because so much of this is like unpreventable damage, or at least they're not able to prevent it. Like, I'm not going to block their shit. Or I should still play it like that, but it's not going to matter. And I love that. But again, my deck exists for one purpose, to try to avoid getting countered by spells. But I still end up getting countered by spells. Like, what the fuck? I mean, we could block each of those, and even my other thing would survive. And the reason why is because... what the fuck? Alright, so that was pretty bad. Let's play as the white one. And we'll get to see. But yeah, that took an irritatingly long amount of time. And you could say I should just concede, but whatever. That was good. It's my first time using that exact deck, so I kind of wanted it to be played out all the way. Yeah, let's do this, and that'll determine our fate of whether I play online or not. I'll play like 1 game in there if I win this, or I will play until I lose, potentially. But And that's basically saying the same thing. But no, a lot of the time, at least I'll win 1 out of the games here. Or, you know, I've beaten like gold players and stuff too with all even these same shitty type of decks, but you know, even in Timeless, that people are always so afraid of, like, oh my goodness, don't play Timeless, it's way too hard, you'll get destroyed, even worse than you get destroyed in Historic or anything anyway. But like, I don't care about that as much as just the, you know, the variety of seeing different things, but then people still bog it down. But it's still not as bad as I'm sure playing Standard and stuff, where you'll see the same shit over and over. I don't even care what it is that I see, or even if it's good or whatnot, right? Like all the same meta stuff, but just don't show me the same one, right? I'll get my ass beat by a variety of meta stuff instead of just the same one. That still makes it more interesting, which is why I like Wild and Hearthstone or whatever other, you know, historic format, even is what I was playing for the most part. So I never recommend that. Like, see, this is that cynicality that I always talk about, like with chess. Like, you're playing at a low rating and you're playing for the first time, and people are saying, oh, you should study and you should read books. Like, that's too cynical. Let's wait, play the game, enjoy it, and then you can get around to that later. It's the same thing with card games. Like, oh, you're playing the game for the first time, but you should play Standard and play the newest stuff and the power creep. But like, why should you do that when you've never even played the game in the first place? You should go back and try the oldest stuff, or, you know, you should embrace the variety of cards that you can potentially use, instead of just saying, well, I'm going to use every single card in the history of the game, or at least potentially be able to see them, versus I'm going to restrict myself to only being able to see the newest stuff just because of the business model and the power creep and the whatever. And again, I get it if people have played the game like their whole life, although not everyone has done that. I haven't seen that picture of it before, I don't think. You know, just you've been playing the game since 1994 or whatever, and now it's like, you know, that's fine if you want to do that. But not everyone has had that experience, or not everyone's played that much, so treat it like that. Like, pretend the game came out like last year or like 2 years ago. Nobody would be treating it that well, sometimes people do that in the modern day anyway with new games, but nobody would be treating it that cynically, like, oh, you got to use the meta thing, or you got to do this or that, right? But because it's been out so long, even with new expansions, it's just we kind of get used to that. But like, Magic is this new game and somebody's just playing it and trying it out. Nobody would be like that, you know, obsessed with that. Yes, there was meta even back then, but I don't know, it would just be treated a little bit differently because it's just a new, fresh thing that you're kind of just trying out anyway. Especially when you have so many goddamn cards where it gets to, you know, there is so much stuff to look at and potentially enjoy certain mechanics, even if they're not good. So the same idea would be true here, where you're trying to just do the flying, unpreventable damage that way, but we don't really have much in the way of ward or hexproof because white just doesn't have that. So I went from using my 2 least favorite colors together, and now I've split them into 2 decks, where it's just one of, you know, committing to one of my least favorite colors at a time each. And both of them at least do have an insane amount of land in there, where I shouldn't have an issue getting screwed on it, but I still do sometimes. Yeah, look at how many of some of the same things that we see, which is kind of weird. Why is this card even considered that good? Like, in so many different decks we see it. Opponent draws a card except for the first one they draw in each of the draw steps. Deals 1 damage to any target. It makes it feel like even some of these people might be bots, that we keep seeing some of the same stuff, but it doesn't make sense. Right, some cards must just be that good that they're used in almost every deck no matter what. Or we're seeing some of the same decks. Yeah, you can always judge it by turn length. It's clearly just because I'm so good of a player that I figure out my complex plays faster than they do theirs. Not that I only have like one thing to do, and it's usually on curve, but it's not always like that. It's just, you know, so we can buff something up. The problem is these buffs end up being like very these buffs, and see, they're already down to 9. Wow, look at how good I'm doing. Just a couple fucking, yeah, now at least removal will be much more playable because I don't have any protection against it with ward or hexproof, which again, white just doesn't seem to have that. But you'd almost think that white should have some of it. Like, ward seems like a very holy light type of mechanic. Even if maybe hexproof isn't, but it kind of could be too. So at least their hand is totally burnt out, but or as soon as I say that, they get more stuff in there. But now if I can just survive this board, I would be fine. Or some of these are just like probably budget cards or budget decks that they're suitable for like cheap. You can just make these with low rarity wild cards and it's fine. So we're gonna lose this probably pretty quickly. That's the thing that probably triggers me the most, is like you can tell they're gonna win, but they'll still play it like super slowly. Maybe because they expect, oh, I might make some crazy comeback, but you can probably tell, as you just saw my hand too, with your stupid ass Thoughtseize play or whatever, right, that you're able to, you know, this is a good example. Like, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Everybody's going to use the same exact thing all the time, and then they'll complain about it, like, oh, the meta is stale. But then they'll keep using it. Like, we get the point. Get to Mythic once, and then, you know, have fun with it. Why do you gotta fuck around? Like, that would be sort of my standard in Hearthstone if I played it more. Like, the first month of an expansion, I would get to Mythic, or I mean, whatever, Legend rank 1, or at least Legend, and then I would, the rest of the months, I would just fuck around with other fun stuff. Or, like, in the course of a month, you get to Legend. I just don't play enough to even potentially try to do that. But I would play until I get Legend, but then I would maybe play on a Smurf account, I guess, or play like in Wild or whatever, right? And then just mess around with other sort of fun decks and ideas. That's like your reward for getting there. But I don't get what this whole it's sort of like an in-between thing where people get stuck on doing it anyway. Like, it gets boring even in a singular sense. Like, you're playing the same deck over and over against the same decks relatively over and over, and it just gets so boring. Even though, to be fair, I do often play the same decks over and over, that like when I commit to a mechanic and do that, but at least I'm doing it because I like it, not because it's good, you know? And the two obviously aren't exclusive. You can always do that anyway, but what I like about this is I'm still building on my collection in a net positive sense, just because you're able to obviously, you know, regardless of what I'm doing, I'm still getting gold and wild cards and just whatever. So eventually I'll have every card in the game, but I mean, obviously that's not possible because of how many they keep adding. But what I'm always intrigued by with games like this is, what if this game goes offline, right? Like, what would happen then? Because you would just lose all the cards and the cosmetics and the money that you spent on it, which you might say, oh, you're aware of that all the time, but you know, it is shocking. Like, tomorrow this game just goes offline forever and it's just gone. Right, like, wouldn't that, or it just dies out and nobody's playing it anymore. You know, like, that could happen with Hearthstone, that could happen with this. This has only been out for 6 years, though, so I'm kind of surprised. Right, that it didn't seem more popular. I didn't hear as much about it. I guess I assumed it had been out for longer, but maybe the community is just very split between this and the online, and maybe even some other version of the game that I'm not aware of. But no, it's like I have to win this, otherwise I can't play that, which it doesn't seem like I'm going to. I'd have to make an epic comeback, win 2 in a row, which is not that crazy. See, look how they do this to themselves, and you might say, oh, it's part of their plan, getting themselves low, but that's my only win condition. Like, if they don't heal, look at how much damage they're doing to themselves. Or whenever they use this guy, that's a proof that they're a bot. Like how when they use that little machine gear card back, that proves that they're a bot in Hearthstone to people. Just all these different theories that you come up with. So if they use like a robotic type of avatar, that's the game's way of telling you it's a bot. Wow, such card variety. Isn't this so exciting? Like, Jesus Christ. So we didn't get much going with that. Return a permanent to its owner's hand. Okay. Or wait, what was the point of that effect? If it's a non-angel, yes, whatever, I don't care. It's still not a badly statted thing. 3 mana, 3/4, regardless of the effect. So look how low they are, but now I'm not going to be able to finish it off in time. Or you can surprise them with this, like, if that'll be my finisher. Use like 2 or 3 buffs that buff only till the end of the turn, but target blocking or block creature you control, and even that's stupid. Like, why not just target creature, period? But like, their board's not that good, their whole setup isn't that impressive, their health is low, so as long as you don't have a heal or something. It's amazing actually how often people don't have an answer for flying even, right? That's why I'm committing like not only to can't be blocked like invisible stalker or even hexproof and stuff, but the hexproof won't do enough on its own for this purpose of trying to finish them off. It'll be more like it'll be more like a situation where that's fine, I guess. Fuck off. I can't get one thing to fucking stick. But no, it's like hexproof is just going to sit there, but it's not necessarily going to be able to do damage to them unless, again, it has flying or some other effect too, and if they have an answer for that, then there's nothing I can do. So, I mean, this is still better because you're going to have to get hit. Well, actually, maybe not. Assuming that their damage values are high enough. Right. For some reason, I thought this was a mythic card. If a source would deal damage, prevent it, put a counter. When they're 9 or more, exile it. How would there even be more? Like, I guess if something gives 2 counters at once somehow. I mean, would I have taken proportionally, you know, 40% of my health or whatever in doing that? If 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Like, I don't know if that would even be worth it. At least we'll lose to a unique condition for once. But no, I mean, I have no chance of winning either way. Or what you should really do with this is... I fucked it up in the most base sense. You should let yourself get low first and then play it. Right, so then you have 1 HP, but then you can't die. Why would you do it when you have 20 HP left? Right, when I could have tanked it for a few turns. You know, you have like 1 counter left to put on there. Gotta make a Yu-Gi-Oh-esque comeback, but I don't even have anything that could potentially do that. So not only do I not win a set, but I don't even win a single game. But at least I like that I've split these decks up, I guess, but... At least when I lose on my own terms. Like, it's my own card that does it to me. You don't get the satisfaction. Or, like, what is that weapon that, like, if this weapon is on the field, you can't lose until it's gone or something, no matter, even if your health goes below 0. I've never used it, but I remember seeing somebody do it. Like, it's, you cannot lose, basically. Like a black weapon, whatever, but it's like something I compared to that whole what is it, that moment from darts where he has like the stupid ass both darts and Yugi and that final duel of season 4 in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like he has that divine serpent, so it's like he can't lose until the divine serpent leaves the field, right? And like Yugi can't lose until the dark magician leaves the field. So there's certain mechanics like that. What would it exactly say? Health below 0 or something. I don't know. Okay, see you tomorrow.